Howdy folks, Craig Lavati here with the Houston Museum of Natural Science and the Beyond Bones Zoomcast. Today, we're talking to Director of Exhibits, Dustin Newcomb. Dustin comes from the world of film, and he just, he makes magic at the museum. Let's talk to him. Howdy folks, Craig Lavati here with the Houston Museum of Natural Science. This is, of course, the Beyond Bones Zoomcast. I think Zoomcast is going to be the correct word from now on. I'm just going to call it the Zoomcast. As always, my co-host is Kat Havens. Kat, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am great. There is a cherry picker outside of my apartment that is currently redoing the side of the building. So if you hear any clunk, clunk, clunk or anything like that, that is what's going on. That is not my stomach, even though we were recording this around lunchtime. Speaking of construction and speaking of cherry pickers and speaking of people beautifying things, our guest today is the Director of Exhibits for the Houston Museum of Natural Science, Dustin Newcomb.
Hello.
Hey there.
Nice to meet you.
Very understated for a man that does a lot for the museum. When I was sort of putting together this Zoomcast, I was saying, this is the guy, Dustin, that makes the museum shiny and pretty. And when you walk in, he is the man that puts together the experiences that make you go, ooh, ah, that kind of thing. So I have to give him props for everything that he does. Dustin, where are you right now?
I'm actually across the street from the museum. We have an office in one of the buildings across the street that's our black box project office.
Oh, so it's sort of like the R&D stage, the R&D Stark Industries place where you figure, I don't know, maybe something like that.
Great, Craig. Your secret lab.
Our secret lab. So Dustin, tell that we see you a lot, when we're at the museum. You're very busy. You work on a lot of stuff. One of your first major projects with the museum was obviously the Weiss Energy Hall. And, that's just it's like just a circus for the senses in there. There's just so many things to see and do. You're a part of a lot of things. Recently, I talked to you about Matter in Motion, which is a new hall that is coming to the museum in roughly 2 years, I guess. I see it on the wall right behind you.
My calendar.
There. So can we?
Opening up in March of 2023.
Wow. Okay. So real quick, if people don't know about Matter in Motion, what is this hall going to be like? What is this going to be?
So most people will remember the chemistry hall on the lower level, which was about 1,500 to 3,000 square feet, if I'm not mistaken. But it was pretty tiny on the lower level. A lot of people, that's where all of the classrooms and some offices and meeting rooms are down there. So not a lot of people actually knew it was there. So we decided to take that and kind of expand it, aggrandize a lot of it. And we're including quantum chemistry, astrophysics. So as you enter the museum now, it'll be essentially one of the first galleries that the majority of the public will pass through on their way to the rest of the museum.
So it's sort of where when you're walking in, now we have the fish up again. We have the fish. Earth has been taken down. We've taken Earth down. We've taken the moon down. We've taken Mars down. And now up top where you would usually see the Earth and the moon, now we have the glacial fish hanging out over there. So, I don't know if you guys have visited recently, where Victoria is. Victoria, that whole section, and then the section that includes Body Worlds is going to be Matter in Motion.
Right. So we're doing, starting in about September, October, we're going to do a full demolition of those two spaces. Rebuild a bunch of the walls and infrastructure there. And it'll be closed off to the public for a while because we don't want to give away the magic. But
so how many square feet total is that going to be when everything is said and done?
About 15,000 square feet.
Whoa.
So yeah, it'll actually, right now, you walk down the hallway and the pendulum is separated from those
Right.
two galleries, but it'll be smack dab in the middle of this exhibit hall.
Like the centerpiece of the whole
Yeah.
exhibit. That is so cool. That is enormous. From 15.
Yeah, it'll be really exciting.
2000.
A lot like Weiss too.
Okay.
You know, in Weiss, we wanted to, create a heavily themed and experiential space so that, you know, while you're in there learning, you're also wrapped up in the environment and the experience. And so it's a lot of the same.
Like immersive, sort of an immersive event. If you will, like you go in and you are kind of inside of energy, if you will.
Yeah. Learn with all your senses.
What's cool about Weiss is that, that it's fun for all ages. I've noticed, I've seen, and you're the reason for this. I know when you walk in, little boys, little girls, small children are excited and in awe about all the moving parts. And then their parents are excited because they can show their kids, this is what dad does all day.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot to compete with too, with screens and iPads and everything. So it's a challenge to, like we said, engage all of the senses and create a space where kids can, really run around and interact with the exhibits, but also learn at the same time, right? I mean, that's the main takeaway, is that they're learning about what mom and dad do at, in the oil and gas industry or in renewables or whatever.
So,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It's intended to be a hands-on space too, right? There's going to be sort of ways to interact with the new exhibit.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. So in Weiss, there are quite a few touch screens, and so a lot of the interactives are electronic. We do have some physical interactives where you turn cranks and pump oil through some tubes, that type of thing. With this, and especially after COVID, we were trying to figure out ways to engage the public a little bit more physically, so that you're using more full body motion. You're not having to touch things as much. So over the time that the museum was on pause during when COVID started happening, we started really looking into and reevaluating kind of how the public works with the touchscreens and developing ways in which you can use off-the-shelf things like Leap, or Leap Connect, or any of those to be able to move and maneuver the touchscreen interactives.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, because there's also that we're moving away from things being so much touch, grab to just motion sensors, things like that. I think that you even have a few things set up right now in Weiss that are sort of like that. When you walk in directly, I know we were showing a reporter one day sort of how you can hover over certain things and you can make selections and make choices and stuff.
Right. We've gone through about 2 or 3 different styles of touchless interface, just prototyping for the public and trying to work out all of the bugs beforehand.
So as somebody, that you're director of exhibits, and so you're so, engaged with that sort of thing. And, when I pitch you to, reporters and stuff, I would say, this is the guy that is going to be pulling the museum into the next decades, as museums evolve. Touchless, things like that, motion sensors, that's where the museum experience is going, right? And that's not just us, that's everywhere.
Yeah, that's everywhere. And it's there's such exponential growth that it's hard for collections museums too, especially where everybody is used to a pedestal with a little gray object and a spotlight, to really try and incorporate tech and merge those two together. So they've got to be done tactfully and artfully, because we don't want to take away from the objects. We don't want to have everybody just come in and be a theme park, essentially. You need to learn. You need to be able to interact with the objects. So we're trying to push that bleeding edge and stay on top of all of the technology. There's a lot going on right now, especially after it seems like now that the economy and other museums are opening back up, there's been a shift towards incorporating technology more into museums. So excited about it for sure.
And I know that, obviously matter and motion is, I guess that's the biggest piece on your plate right now, even though it's 2 years away. It's funny, March 2023, in terms of, I guess, us, the marketing people, that seems like, that's years and years away. Yes, that's what Kat was saying. But to you, that's not that far away. That's just 2 years.
Really isn't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can see these behind me, but these are essentially calendars that just show how everything is stacked up and dependent on the timelines, or dependent on one thing happening at a certain time, in order for the next thing to happen. So I'm planning on the projects that I typically take on. I plan 2 to 3 years out, and there's a whole bunch of coordination and research and development, not only for the exhibits, but like the content, and really looking at the experience as a whole.
So you're thinking, you're kind of like a movie producer. You're thinking, franchises in the next decade. You're thinking about what things are going to look like, in 2030, something like that.
Yeah, and beyond, right? Like planning for obsolescence and planning for upgrades, or what does the next big tech wave look like, or what is the public going to want? 5 years out, our design is going to be tired. So what do we do next?
And I've seen some of the if you guys don't know, I don't know if it was kind of behind a paywall, but we did this really amazing story for the Houston Business Journal featuring Dustin. You had like a really awesome, posed photo that Mike took of you. It was really great. But I got to see sort of what Matter in Motion is going to look like, and just some of the, I don't know, I actually got my hand swatted because I posted a picture I wasn't supposed to, but it was of the big giant periodic table that we're having that's going to be on the ground that you can step on.
Like,
right.
Like the movie with Tom Hanks kind of thing?
Sorta, yeah.
Yeah, but way cooler.
Yeah, no, very, very cool.
It is a large LED dance floor, essentially. And so we're turning that into this huge interactive game where you can interact with objects on the wall. So we'll have projection on the wall next to it, and then you're able to make compounds and manipulate the screens that are on the floor. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it'll be
just
really
stepping on them.
Yeah, we had it actually set up, and we were testing it in the lower level in one of the classrooms, and it filled the entire classroom. It was
wow. I know exactly which classroom you're in, and now I know exactly what it was that y'all were doing in there.
Yeah.
That makes all more sense now. You were very secretive, but that's okay. I try not to peek. Try to be, respectful.
Yeah.
Oh, we need you to be surprised.
I know. We can bring our campers in there to test it for you.
Yeah.
It's sturdy.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had to pack it up before summer camp starts. So
yeah.
We're planning on putting it into, there's a couple of other spaces in the museum that we're looking at. We still have some development to do with the gaming engines on it.
And I love Energy City. Energy City is one of the best teaching tools, I think, as a curriculum developer. I focused a lot on that in my curriculum development up there, because there was a lot to be learned. As you said, there's so many layers to it, and just watching it change.
At the time, it was one of the only exhibits like that in the world. There have since been a couple of large scale exhibits like that built, but the technology just in 2017 was kind of the height of that, has now it's now so easily accessible that we're able to do all of this work in-house with smaller price tag and less time.
Yeah, I knew it was a huge to do. I mean, that was like such a focus up there, and trying to get it perfect, and just watching you guys work was incredible to me. I'm not technologically gifted at all. I mean, it was precision, trying to figure things out.
Yeah, that was a big project. A lot of people and a lot of time. So.
And you actually got a lot of accolades from your industry too. I know that I was always seeing URLs and stories and stuff about people being excited about what you did for the Weiss Hall and just your team, just what you came up with up there. You definitely, there was a lot of eyes on that. A lot of people noticed.
Yeah, we assembled a really great team for that project, and a lot of the same people are going to be working on the Matter in Motion Hall as well. A lot of really talented folks in Houston, especially the art scene and the tech scene here are really thriving, and there's a lot of cutting edge work being done in Houston. So we have a large pool to pull people from, and we try and get, the best of the best on the projects.
I've always wanted to know what's your background? Where did you come from? What was your origin story? What led you to the museum?
I grew up in Houston primarily, and I went to school at U of H and studied sculpture, and then ended up working on the museum, the health museum down the street. So that was actually my first kind of foray into museum land, sculpting large anatomical parts for that museum, and then worked at the Children's Museum down the street for a while, and then jotted around the country a lot, worked in Chicago and some other places at different museums, and design build companies. Did a little time working on the movies. It was interesting. I learned, a lot of the thematic stuff that we incorporated kind of comes from that mindset of trying to build a set that's fully immersive and really thinking about the exhibits, that experience, almost like a movie set.
Well, you got to tell us now, what movies did you work on?
You took it right out of my mouth. I was like,
I was in prop fabrication and construction. So I worked on Death Proof and Planet Terror, which were a lot of Robert Rodriguez films. And,
so you were at Troublemaker in Austin then?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
There for a little bit. It's an interesting industry, but I missed the permanence of what I was building. Everything, at the end of a movie, everything goes into a dumpster or in somebody's office. And so, I missed that and went back to museum land after that.
What did you work on with Death Proof?
I was in the prop fabrication, so a lot of little things that you never see, or that last 2 seconds and it's a blur across screen. Like, oh, I made that. So when there's a scene in there where they roll a Chevy Nova, and Kurt Russell is the actor who's in there, and we had to take all of his lighter, his change in his pockets, anything that would come loose in that car, mold it, and then cast it out of really soft rubber so that the talent, the actor, wouldn't get hurt while they were
hit them in the face while they were rolling.
Yeah, and we made this giant gimbal that spun the car so they could get the camera angles right with him in it, and just little stuff like that. There was a couple of other things I worked on too. But
that's cool. I watched Death Proof not too long ago. It was streaming somewhere, and that's we don't want to get off on a tangent, but that's probably one of my favorite Tarantino, that whole world, because that's not a world that, I know you're a movie guy too, obviously, but those movies were a special little time for Robert and Quentin Tarantino to be working on. And I've been to Troublemaker, and you have quite a playground over there to work with, because I was there last year, I guess now, right before COVID, when Richard Linklater was finishing filming the Apollo, was it 10.5, I think he's filming, or he was done with it then. And there's a pretty big, expansive, there's a lot of room out there. If you guys don't know, Troublemaker Studios is, I guess, it's Austin, but it's sort of like in a really industrial part of Austin. And that's where Robert Rodriguez, guys like Richard Linklater, it's their own little movie factory. I think they made some of the Sin City stuff out there, obviously Spy Kids, all that stuff. That's sort of like their little area over there, and that's just amazing.
The Mueller Airport down, and essentially took the hangars and leased them out from here to eternity for Robert and his crew, and a lot of really interesting movies, and short films or independent films and commercials get shot out there. So it was early 2000s. It was kind of the height of that, and then the incentives went elsewhere. So a lot of the movie industry then
back to the museum industry.
It worked out, yeah.
Well, your stuff is definitely more permanent. Even it goes into the hall for a while, and even when it's done, if we can reuse it, we will bring it down to education and put it on our wall or stick it in our classroom. Nothing ever, very little goes to waste around here.
Yeah.
As far as that is, you can find stuff from many years ago that we still use to teach. even if it's not in a hall anymore, it's somewhere else being educational. Staring at a bunch of it right now that's stored over here.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm staring at a giant rhino head.
Wow. Yeah.
What are some of for Dustin here, what are some of the challenges, I guess, that you guys run into at the museum? I mean, obviously timelines change, things get pushed back, but what are some of the major hurdles, I guess, of formulating exhibitions for the general public? What are some things that we wouldn't think about?
There's just, on the front end, there's so much planning and some thought put into the design, obviously, right? That the great thing about building exhibits is that the public will show you where you fail as a designer pretty quickly, and I learned that through years of working at children's museums too. They will come in and dismantle an exhibit quicker than anything.
Or climb up something that wasn't meant for climbing.
Right. I think just there's a like we were talking about earlier. There's a lot of work on the front end that a lot of moving parts, and especially in this museum, a lot of departments that have to be involved. So just making sure that those lines of communication are open and that everybody is brought in at certain times, because you can definitely get too many cooks in the kitchen on an exhibit and then it'll stall out and go nowhere. So there's a cadence to it that has to be kind of engineered,
You are very inclusive, Dustin. I will say that firsthand, that, you are great at kind of bringing people in when they need to be. And that's really an awesome skill to have, because, what is it that you need from an educational perspective? What will work for you? You kind of have to manage all those moving parts, which can't be easy. Everybody having an opinion and all.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we have, I don't know how many different departments, 20 different departments at the museum. And, there's the marketing aspect, the fundraising and development aspect, education, and then the design and the aesthetic part of it too, right? You're always trying to engage the audience in a new and exciting way that, they can't get elsewhere, that drives up attendance and wants them to come back and become members.
So this is the fun question here. Is there anything you can't tell us about? We're working on.
Tell us.
Nobody's listening.
A lot of the details on these projects, because we do want them to be, the public to be surprised when they walk through. That element of surprise is awesome to watch. When the kids walk off the elevator on the 4th floor at the Weiss Energy Hall, that hearing everybody just, ooh and ah, and wow, that's like the best feeling in the world, right? After you've created an exhibit. So we can, there's a lot of interesting technology that we're incorporating into the Matter in Motion Hall, and a lot of new stuff that we're trying to work on and develop. So, there's existent tech out there, but we're also trying to prototype and make new things that aren't existent, right? So,
wow.
So some of that I can't talk about, but everybody will be pleasantly surprised for sure.
Well, I'm excited because it's Kat, is the one that uses that stuff to educate, and I'm the one that in marketing, I'm the one going, no, come on, visit this, see this. So, if I'm excited, hopefully that makes everybody else excited, and everything you do is amazing. And now it makes sense that you worked in the movies. So because every time we walk in somewhere, it's like walking into a movie set. So that, boom, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I'm lucky to work around. We have several other directors in the exhibits department, and everybody, this whole team, the exhibits team is an amazing group of craftsmen and graphics people, programmers, and, we have a really great pool of people here in Houston to pull from, like I said. So it's really cool to work around other team members that have that same drive and creative force too. And then also one of the other projects that exhibits department is working on is the Hall of the Americas as well, and that's getting a refresh. Yeah, the 3rd floor is going to be really exciting here. Towards the end of the year, it'll be a whole new look on everything in there. So.
Yeah, that's another one too that we've talked about. We talked with that one about with Dirk.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many different moving parts with that, but also too, as society changes, as our current, you know, what am I trying to say here? There's a lot of the political aspects of it are changing very quickly, and so we are evolving with that. That's I can say that much. So,
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah,
Fair.
That
very cool.
That exhibit was one of the so back in, I think it was 96 or something. I was a sculptor and a independent contractor, and I worked with a couple of guys on that, sculpting the some of the stone walls in there.
That was my first year working here.
Yeah, that's cool.
I remember when it wasn't even there, and we had camp up there before they put in the Hall of the Americas. They built classrooms out, and we had kids up there in that space. So it is ever evolving around this joint. We're permanent down in the basement now.
That is I have to say that the Hall of Americas the older version was very cool too. That was definitely, you could get yourself lost in there in a good way. So I definitely enjoyed that. And it's really cool to know that you had a little piece of that going at what, I guess, so you're a U of H grad. Obviously we put that in the thing there that, you know, you're a proud Cougar.
Yeah. I spent, I think it was early 90s in sculpture department, and yeah.
I would have been there in the early 90s, just not in the sculpture department.
That college is just kind of blown up. I went back with my daughter not too long ago just to take a walk through. And yeah, everything's changed.
Is it different? I haven't been in ages, like since the early 90s, like 94. Yeah. Wow. Everything changes.
Well, awesome. Dustin, I'm going to let you go so you can get working on that timeline behind you over there. I'm always excited to talk to you. I'm learning more about you. I appreciate you taking the time out for me and Kat here to ask you some stupid questions and for you to give us some amazing answers. And I asked all the stupid questions. Kat's the one that's the smart one. So Kat's the educator.
Well, thanks, Dustin. No, it's great. And your timelines are making me anxious because they're very layered.
Yeah, right on. Thank you, guys.
I'm excited to see what's happening after Matter in Motion. There you go.
Gracious. That's like 2024 in a marketing mind. That's now.
Yeah, I'm thinking ahead.
Okay.
There we go. All right, Dustin Newcomb, thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. Thank y'all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.